Hey, landlord.
Oh, that's amazing. I thought they were extinct. I could swear that that's the call of the red-beaked, seersuckered summer renter. And it is. Why aren't you home packing?
You took a vacation away from my family. Now I'm gonna take something away from you.
What can you take from me?
That.
What? My cup?
Yeah.
You think you can outsail me?
Yes.
You couldn't beat my dinghy.
Really?
Really?
You want to bet?
What are you gonna bet? Huh? What? Popcorn?
Lobsters? $1,000. The last 2 weeks' rent. You win, you keep the check. We go home. I win, I keep the check. We stay here 2 weeks rent-free. Do we have a bet?
You know something, Dumbo? You're even stupider than you look.
It's Two Dads, One Movie. It's the podcast where two middle-aged dads sit around and shoot the shit about the movies of the 80s and 90s. Here are your hosts, Steve Paulo and Nick Brianna. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Two Dads, One Movie. I'm Steve.
And I'm Nick.
And today we are diving into summer, because it is summer.
That's right.
With the 1985 John Candy vehicle, Summer Rental. And this was one of my picks. And I'm going to be totally transparent. I'm going to be totally honest here. This is one of those movies that if you've seen those memes that go around or the comment sections on like either Facebook or Reddit or whatever these days where it's like, hey, what was that one movie that you had as a kid and like watched 1,000 times and like nobody else seems to give a shit about? This was one of two movies for me that would fit that category. The other one's Iron Eagle, and we're going to watch Iron Eagle someday too. But Summer Rental is absolutely one of those movies. I mean, who didn't love John Candy, right? I mean, just in general. And then this was just one of those like incredibly easy watches. It was like a movie. If I got sick and was staying home from school, like I would put this on. We had it on VHS. I wore the tape out. And it was just a movie I watched 1,000 times. And when I bring it up to other people, most of the time, they've either never heard of it or they're like, oh, is that the one where John Candy goes on vacation with Dan Aykroyd? And I'm like, no, that's The Great Outdoors. Like, oh, it's the one with the boats. It's like, yeah, that's the one. But it's like, there's no recognition of like, oh, I love that movie too. So I come in adoring this movie. Nick, what's your background with Summer Rental?
I definitely saw this as a kid, and because it was, I mean, this is a very solid PG. It's like a very comfortable PG, and it is something as a kid you're like, oh, this is cool, because it would be cool if my family like packed up the car and went and stayed at a place for like a month,
or at least,
and I liked it, and I liked John Candy, but I think my memory did meld this and The Great Outdoors a lot, so I might be thinking about that part in Summer Rental where he has to eat the giant steak.
I was thinking okay, that's not in there.
So
it's lobsters in this one. It's the steak in that one.
That's right. Mr. Surf and Turf himself, John Candy, never caught up to him.
No, he's fine.
So this was one that I definitely had a memory of seeing and I remember enjoying as a kid, but I don't think I'd seen it as an adult. So it was interesting to go back and look at it. But I love John Candy, and my thought was John Candy can do no wrong, and we'll see.
No, I think that's fair. And I think this is another one. We talked, it was a few weeks ago now, about The Big Lebowski. And it was like, I remember going into that one kind of worried, like, I hadn't seen it in a while. Is it going to hold up, or is it going to be like another movie we're going to see at some point, The Boondock Saints, that I know I do not like as much now as I did when I was like 19, 20 years old. I thought it was a masterpiece. And I know when we go back to watch it, that's not going to be the case. So I was kind of worried about this one too. It's like, okay, is it just nostalgia? Is there anything, that's like really good or funny in this? I laughed a lot watching it, so I can't wait to get into it with you and talk it through, but it'll be interesting to see if we land in the same spot with nostalgia versus actual quality. I think so much of our show hinges on that fulcrum.
For sure.
All right, let's jump into the facts on Summer Rental. The film Summer Rental was released on August 9th, 1985 with a PG rating. As you said, a very solid PG. There's like nothing kind of offensive about this movie, even given that it was the mid-80s.
Right.
It's just a time where PG...
It's pretty tame.
PG could have meant a lot of things. It has a running time officially of 87 minutes. It was directed by the great Carl Reiner, which I
was surprised to see.
Don't even think I ever really knew, like ever registered that this is a Carl Reiner movie. It was written by Jeremy Stevens and Mark Reisman and stars John Candy, Richard Crenna, and Rip Torn. Scores are not favorable. On Rotten Tomatoes, this earned 19% fresh, which I don't think is this the lowest we've seen. I think Troop Beverly Hills was 17, but it is right in that conversation. On IMDb, a very, very poor 6.3. And this is a film Siskel and Ebert did not review in At the Movies at all. I looked into it a bit, and they took August of 1985 off. And I get the sense that by the time they got back to do their shows in September, like this wasn't in the theaters. Gone. Yeah, it wasn't in theaters anymore. It hadn't made a splash, so it was like they didn't even bother.
Siskel and Ebert gave it 2. Sykes.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, and then no awards action to speak of. There were a couple things. Something called the Young Artist Awards from back then, where they both Carrie Green and Joey Lawrence, the two older kids, were nominated as best new or best young actress, best young actor, not win.
Oh, interesting.
But it was interesting. They got a little bit of sort of credit for as youngsters for doing this movie. On a budget, so this was the hard part. This is the first time I have not been able to nail down a budget for a film that we've covered.
Yeah.
And you mentioned before the pod too, it's like we had, like to the dollar, you've got Kevin Smith's Clerks. Like
seriously.
Really, everything's
like he had
for.
Receipts stapled behind his budget. Like you knew every line item there.
100%. This was Carl Reiner, clearly a little, and John Candy and Richard Crenna. I mean, these were all stars. These were, Candy, Crenna, and Torn were all names at this point. Carl Reiner was a name at this point. So there was obviously some cost. The estimation is 10 to 15 million, which like the boat stuff alone, I'm sure leans it in towards that 15 stuff, right? So much of this is filmed on the water, on boats, which means they were filming from boats. Like there's a lot of like complicated filmmaking to go into that. We'll call it 12 and a half for our purposes of like figuring out a multiplier because it did only take in 24.7 million. That's just less than twice what it cost. I learned something interesting recently, actually, and I don't know if this is the way it was in the 80s and 90s as well, but I think it is. And it's certainly true today. If you've ever heard the sort of rule of thumb that a movie's got to make twice what it costs to even come close to making any money, it's because the theaters keep half the ticket price. Which makes sense. They got to make their money somehow. I know they make a lot of money on popcorn and soda, but apparently all that box office gross that goes in, all that money they say, this is what the quote the movie made. Half of that went to the distributor, the cinemas actually showing it. Oh. So if they don't make twice the money, then they're not really back to square one, right?
That's
with
such
the budget.
A simple calculation, because in my mind it was like, well, we're factoring like at promotion and overseas stuff and lawsuit reserves and all this shit. And it's like, oh no, it's because they get half the money.
But then also that shit too. Like for sure, there's like, what's the marketing budget? That never gets factored into when you see the budget for a film,
it's
it never includes
budget
marketing.
Only, right?
Exactly. It's production budget. So it's like, acquiring, it's paying the cast and paying the writers and the director and all the crew. It's, location scouting and the actual like active filming and then whatever like equipment and materials they need, right? Like that's what that number is. So it does have this hidden and it's, Hollywood is famous for its bullshit accounting.
For sure.
And one of the reasons it can do it is because that marketing budget is it's fugazi, it's totally not a thing. So,
and they're like one agency's paying another agency who's then paying them back and like all this stuff. But yeah, if we knew the exact dollar amount of John Candy and Rip Torn billboards that were put up to promote this movie, that would be good to know.
That would be good to know, but we don't have that info. What we do have is that it didn't quite make that 2x sort of bare minimum. So this was not in any way a success at the box office.
All right.
But you know what? It was a success in my heart and from my couch. I specifically remember watching this movie on a wooden framed CRT television with like a wicker panel. You know what I mean? That kind of maybe not wicker, rattan, kind of a rattan sort of like panel where the speaker is.
Yes.
Really old school 80s TV.
Oh, must have sounded so good though.
Sounded like shit.
All right, Steve. Well, where do we start off here?
Let's dive in. So we start off with kind of a fun way to start a movie, a little voiceover with just some establishing shots. We don't really see the family, but it's obviously morning. We're hearing the Chesters. This is Jack Chester, John Candy, and his kids and his wife, and he's kind of trying to rush out to work.
Yep.
His son Joe, Bobby, played by Joey Lawrence, has like made eggs, and he's like, I made spaghetti. I love this. I had to make breakfast for school. I made spaghetti and one hard-boiled egg.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, keep the spaghetti, but give me the egg, throw in another one, and I'll get going. Which creates a very funny moment where he's on his way to work then, and he cracks one egg and is able to sort of peel and eat it, but then he goes to crack the other egg and he didn't ask him to boil
all
it.
over his car.
All over everywhere.
But even the first egg, I mean, there are egg bits of the peel all over. It's just disgusting. And this is a movie that my wife watches most of these with me. And this one, she's like, I'll pop in whenever. But she is weird. I mean, a lot of people like really hate the egg and the hard-boiled egg, like that situation. Yeah. So I was explaining that it was like going into the vents of his car and stuff. But it's a really funny gag of like, they do a good job of establishing just how like flustered and overwhelmed he is and how much he needs this upcoming
Yeah,
vacation,
and it's just a lot. It's a scene of domesticity. It's just showing us like Jack's a regular guy. He's got a family. He's got a career. Maybe the career's a little demanding. We get a thing where he tries to leave with coffee, and his wife stops him and gives him like tea or something instead because the coffee is bad for him. You know, like an ulcer, like all this stuff. So we're getting the hint that he is overworked.
I feel like ulcers were such a bigger thing in the 80s and 90s, right?
Especially in movies. It feels like
it's like the main thing. Like every other protagonist had an ulcer,
right? Or you know, you go to the
and they're
Dumb and Dumber,
chugging Maalox,
right? Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah. Oh my god.
One thing that I noticed that I think two things. I loved his dash mounted cup holder. It
was very cool.
It was like, oh yeah, cars weren't built with factory cup holders.
Nope.
So you had to get a cup holder that stuck to your dash with a special cup that stuck to that.
Exactly, yeah.
And then I thought this movie gets a Steve point because of the Alan Silvestri score.
It's fantastic.
One of your dudes. I was like,
absolutely.
okay, there's a Steve point for that.
Silvestri, great composer, also pretty fantastic winemaker. There's a Silvestri Vineyards, has a tasting room in Carmel by the Sea that is well worth checking out, partly because it's covered in the movie posters of movies he scored with his score playing from different things. You can go walk in and hear the Back to the Future soundtrack and stuff. It's a really neat place. Yeah. Great little tasting room in Carmel. So
nice.
So he's driving to work and we find out, it's funny. There are two ways we find out that he's in Atlanta, in my opinion. The first is that every radio station is like Christian Bible beating, like it's all his pastors on the radio. And then he's driving down a highway. And if you look at the highway signs, it's like one direction to Montgomery, one to Macon. So it's you know, it's where he is. And of course, Atlanta, Hartsfield-Jackson is one of the most busy airports in the country, even was back in the 80s. And that's our man Jack Chester is an air traffic controller there at Hartsfield-Jackson. So, and we see a couple really quick scenes. It's such an economical opening because we see a couple really quick moments of him directing planes, you know, telling, you know, whatever. And at one point he says a heading and an altitude to one plane, and the pilot comes back over and goes, "Can you repeat that?" And he goes, "Yeah, you know, descend to 17,000, heading 250 or whatever." And he goes, "Yeah, there's a jumbo jet there. Are you trying to mate us?" Like, and he goes, disregard, go here instead, you know. And so it's just showing he's flustered. And then he really freaks out because he thinks he lost a plane. There's a plane that's not on his radar anymore. And his boss comes over and shows him that a fly just landed on the little dot, you know, that exists. And he's like, "Dude, come on, let's get a drink of coffee, like, or whatever. Like, you need to calm down. Let's go for a walk." But yeah, and that basically gives us the premise for the whole movie.
Exactly. Like, he needs this vacation. So I guess at this time, Jack Chester is one of the replacement air traffic controllers. So in 1981, there was a very famous air traffic controller strike.
Right.
And the way that Ronald Reagan responded to it was firing all of the air traffic controllers and replacing them either with like retired ones or like military affiliated people, which fucks up air travel for sure. It is crazy. Kind of awesome if you plan on flying a bunch of drugs into the country. But yeah, that was interesting that this happened so soon before that. And I don't know if Carl Reiner, I mean that the strike happened soon, like before this. I'm sorry.
No,
but Carl Reiner, I don't know. I know Rob Reiner was like pretty vocally, like politically vocal. And I know Carl Reiner was like left leaning and wouldn't have liked Reagan.
Yeah.
But I don't know if he would have put this in on purpose as any kind of thing. It just seems like a good, interesting job that could be stressful and shown to be stressful very easily on film.
100%. I think that's the crux of it, because they even said something like his boss says something like, "You've been landing planes for 13 years, you've never taken a vacation." So it's like apparently he's been working straight through. He
scabbed through the strike.
Yeah,
and
maybe.
I don't like Jack Chester anymore.
Oh, okay.
Not a man of the people.
Let's just go ahead and end it now.
Yeah, so they tell him, what is it, a 5-week sabbatical they put him on?
Yeah, it's basically, it's mandatory 5. So he's got to take 5 weeks off. So, you know, what are you going to do for 5 weeks in the summer? And yeah, they're going to go to Florida and to Citrus Cove, Florida, and spend, you know, a chunk of the summer there. Like, I get it. They're in Atlanta. It's not that long a drive. It makes sense, you know, where they should go. It's so funny. I think when I was younger, I never really clocked that they were in Atlanta. Like, that never registered to me.
Yeah.
And later he wears a Chicago Blackhawks hockey jersey in several scenes. Exactly. And so I always thought, man, they drove all the way from Chicago to Florida. Like, that's kind of insane. That's like a 2 or 3 day trip. It's got to be, right?
Yeah.
No, just Georgia. Like, it's not that far.
Yeah. I'm glad that they had established the geography too, because I always would just default assume that John Candy is playing a character from the Midwest.
Right, of course.
So
absolutely.
And Citrus Cove, I mean, it looks beautiful.
Yes.
It looks great.
Yeah.
The house that they check in, that they walk into is really nice. You know, all like wood paneling, but like an ideal situation for a rental cabin. They just incredible views out there,
right on the water. Like you look out the window and it's like the beach is like right there. They got no separation, man. They're killing it.
It's good, and it seems like a good relationship too. Like Jack is very kind of openly self-conscious about his weight and stuff, but his wife is very sweet. She's very supportive towards him and stuff. And it's kind of interesting, like for 40 years ago, for a male character to be like, uncomfortable with his body and whatever.
Well, and especially because look at Candy in this movie. It's the slimmest I think he's ever been on film. He actually, I mean, he's still got the double chin, whatever, but like his actual like midsection he's smaller than in most movies. You think about Stripes was only a few years before this. I think Uncle Buck was only a couple years after this. And you look at him in both of those movies, he's significantly bigger than he was for this. So I'm not quite sure what was going on in Candy's life at the time that had him, dropping some weight, whether that was a good thing or a bad thing, because it's certainly can be both or either, right? But he certainly had slimmed down. There's a great line here where, like you're talking about his self-deprecation and sort of self-consciousness. He tells his wife, Sandy, he's like, oh, I forgot a bathing suit. I guess I can't go in the water all summer long. Oh, geez. And she goes, I like how you look at a bathing suit. And he turns and goes, my mother was right. You're twisted. And it's just like, I think you're right. There's a caring and a sort of like lovely continued infatuation with each other that this married couple shows, which is like so refreshing, I think.
Totally. Because it's like, it's easy to go for the joke where they're like bickering at each other off the bat. That's like an easy for ripe for comedy.
Yeah, absolutely.
He introduces himself to a couple of these neighbors who look very much like the Underhills from Fletch, like just in this country club 80s snob 100%. Vein, right?
Yep.
And he introduces them, Jack Chester, we're staying next door. And you are? And the lady's just like, having lunch. And they just
But yeah, he's like watching the kids, they're playing in the surf or whatever, and he goes to like lay down and he kind of ends up falling asleep. We get a very brief, I love these little moments where they do this establishment. This is Carl Reiner being a really good filmmaker, I think, in some of it. But a plane flies by that just says Citrus Cove Regatta, July 15th. So that's it. We've established that a regatta exists, right? Nothing else about it yet. Just file that in the back of your mind. That's there. But the kids wake him up and he's been asleep and he's had his like arms up above his head. And so his underarm, kind of back of his forearm and
he is insanely red. It's red. Crazy.
And even the daughter is like, hey dad, like that looks pretty bad. And he's trying to play it off. He's like, oh, no, you got to do these things in stages. That's a good base. That's a good base. Oh yeah. No, he's fucking so in pain.
Oh man. And then, so this is just kind of a series of little fun, like vacation misadventures. They end up at the local lobster restaurant and he's very excited. So there's a big line going out the door, but Jack is at the tank, which is right by the front. And he's like, ooh, which one's going to be mine? I'll fire it up. And the family, God bless these young children for being excited about having a lobster.
I mean, especially the youngest is what, 2.5, 3 years old. It surprises me that she would be
not ripping a lobster at 2.5. That's a way for dad to get himself a second lobster. That is not your choice. One of the lines that always stuck with me here is, they're talking about how long it is to wait. And he comes back and he says, I brought us some mint-flavored toothpicks to hold us over. That one I totally remembered from when I saw this as a kid.
And such a classic dad move in the 80s, right? Like maybe either they'd either have little mint flavored toothpicks or maybe those little pinwheel mints, right? If you could grab a couple, or I mean, even better, what are those pillow mints or whatever? Remember those? Like the little kind of buttery.
Those are good, except half the time they just be loose in a bowl, and there's some kid's grubby mitt going into, so it's like you can't trust it.
You got to get the ones in the little tiny white cellophane. Those are okay. But yeah, dad grabbing just anything to like get your mind off the fact that you're that hungry. But so they finally then get up to where they're next, right? They've been waiting the whole time. He's still bright red, and there are only a few lobsters left in the tank, and it's clear that there are many fewer now than when he walked up before. And the maitre d', who's got a thick Italian accent for some reason, is like, oh, yours will be the very next table, like, kind of thing. Except now we get introduced to a new character, Al Pellet, who is played by Richard Crenna, and who Bobby, the son, noticed at first at one point, saying, because there's all these trophies in the restaurant here and pictures of Al having won the Citrus Cove Regatta for like 7 years in a row, and there's trophies and there's like all this stuff, and he's and Bobby's like, whoa, Dad, look at this guy. It's like must be good,
Lebowski's trophy around there,
exactly. But in a restaurant for some reason. Apparently, this is Al's favorite restaurant. I guess is basically it. And so, but he walks up with 4 guests and just walks straight up to the maitre d', and the maitre d's all like, "Oh, Captain Pellet, how are you doing?" or whatever. I don't even know what fucking accent he has, but it's something strong, and he's like, "Hey, there'll be 5 of us. Just seat us now, please." And he's like, "Oh, of course." So he walks him off.
Yeah.
And Jack is like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa! You said we were the next table." And he goes, "Oh, well, Mr. Pellet had a reservation. Thought you didn't take reservations." "Well, we do for Mr. Pellet," and he's like trying to be nice about it, but Jack's just like, "We're next. Like, don't screw around. We're next." Well, the problem is we cut back then to the table,
and they ordered the last.
And this is a great character moment for Al, because he's like, he first he orders for everybody. What do you say? We all have the lobster. And he goes to his buddy next to him. He goes, "No arguments. Tonight's dinner is on you." He thought he said I was going to say it on me. He thought I said and he's just like, thinks it's the funniest thing in the world.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's a good line. And before Al Pellet even says anything, he's going to be an asshole because he's wearing the captain's hat.
And like kind of snaps, I think, at his own friends or whatever, wife.
He has that good 80s butthole look. He really does.
Crenna can just so pull off anything that requires a hard ass or an asshole. Like, there's the Troutman stuff. There's this, even like, I think, wasn't he Rachel's dad in later episodes of Friends? Like, I'm pretty sure he's the guy who plays Dr. Green. And it's just, it works like every time, And it's like, and he just seems so natural, with like an ascot and a captain's hat on. It's just perfect for him.
They nailed that. And then especially as a kid, if you're thinking about this movie's made for like 10-year-olds at the time, they're like, boom, I identify this guy.
That guy sucks.
And so Jack is pissed off and he comes over to the table. Like, they've ordered his lobsters. He's like, "Hey, this is my table. These are my lobsters." And then Pellet gets up and kind of makes a scene.
Yes. He goes, "Oh, these are your lobsters." And he like, because Jack like slaps the table. He goes, "My table." He goes, "Oh, this is your table? I guess these are your lobsters. Is this your wife?" And he like hits "Is this your belt?" And he like unzips his fly and goes, "Are these your shorts?" And his wife starts to say something and he goes, "Da, da, 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 da."
Yes.
And it's just like, again, so economical. The same way that we set up Jack's like wholesome domesticity and sort of status as a father in just moments and a few lines, we get so perfectly that not only is Al a dick, but he's like a cartoonish villain. And that's what the story needs.
To his friends and to his wife, like already at the very 100%, beginning.
100%. Everybody in his life is subject to his wrath, essentially. And he's not selective about it. It's just, he's a dick to everyone all the time.
So they're like, "Well, screw this. We're not going to be here. Our lobsters are gone. We're out of here. Let's go somewhere else." And the only other place to eat is the Barnacle.
The Barnacle.
Which is a restaurant that's kind of like, it's a boat.
Right.
That has all the restaurant on it and the dock, and the bar kind of like pulls up to the boat, and then there's tables and stuff. And Captain Scully, right? This very kind of like comical pirate, like never gave up the pirate lifestyle type dude, talks like a true sailor. Right?
And it's almost like you figure this is the kind of person that never really existed. This is like if the cartoonish version of Blackbeard or Captain Hook or whatever, right? Like the fictional pirate characters like really existed.
Yes.
Like nobody ever spoke like Scully speaks in this movie. Like not really.
And then, they finally order, let's get 5 Scully's catch of the day. And then it cuts to the basement, the freezer, and they pull out the frozen fish fingers. Which is a great gag. And this was before they did it in European Vacation. I know European Vacation had a very similar gag where they were putting like a little French flag into the frozen meals before they served them.
That's a good point. I can't remember what year that was, but it would have been like 83, 84, 85. It would have been right in that ballpark. Because the original was like 81, I want to say.
That's right. It was early.
Yeah. So it would have been right around here. Yeah.
But I love that, that's great, like resolution to this whole thing, going from like this tank full of live lobsters to the most like well-traveled fish that's been frozen, since the Carter administration.
And it's so funny too, because Jack says, like, his kids are kind of questioning, this place looks like a dump, whatever. Like even the little one, Lori, goes, "This place sucks." And they're like, "Oh, you shouldn't say that," And he's like, "Well, I asked the guy at the gas station. You can always trust a guy at a gas station to tell you where the local good food is." I don't know why that's a thing that he believes or like understood at some time. But I love when Scully's like saying like, they're like, "Well, can you recommend something?" He goes, "Scully's catch of the day. It's fresh grouper, sautéed to a golden brown with the teasing hint of Dijon." And he's like really playing it up. And they're like, "Yeah, we'll take 5." And it cuts to Mrs. Van de Kamp's fish fingers or something, whatever it was. Very funny stuff. And the frozen food, it's established here, it comes back later. There's all, again, kind of these little things. But, they basically eat. The dinner, we don't have any more dinner. Like they're settling for this because it's what they can get.
Yeah. So we're back at the house and somebody's at the door of the house.
Well, so Jack wakes up in the middle of the night, right? Because he hears, something like the door or the rattling or there's something, whatever. And he, kind of comes out. He's got noxema all over his face and like trying to deal with the sunburn.
Yeah.
And he comes downstairs and he like Archie. We had mentioned Archie, their dog. They have like a golden,
That's right.
Who's this very lazy, kind of older dog, and like a lot of older dogs, just fucking doesn't want to do shit, flops
doesn't
around,
do his
sits.
guard dog duties.
Absolutely not. Useless in that way, but very, very friendly looking dog. But Archie's not, the kid does not care that there's rattling at the door. And so Jack goes up and he's even holding like a statue and he's like, I'm going to brain these people when they try breaking in here. The door opens and it's this family, it's African-American family, 2 kids, wife and husband, like obviously not breaking in. And he's like, who the hell are you people? And he's like, I'm the owner. Who the hell are you? And there's argument over like all this stuff. And what comes out is that the receipt Jack has and the address of the house that they rented was 415 Beach Road. And the owner tells him this house is 415 Beach Lane.
If you're going to have a city with like roads and lanes, do a different numbering scheme, please. This guy's actually funny. The guy who plays Dan Gardner, the owner of the house, is one of Navin Johnson's brothers in The Jerk, another Carl Reiner film. So maybe he's been in like a million things, he was funny as one of those characters. So at least like after the lobster, after the fish stick thing, at least the family could cling on to the idea that we're in this nice place for an extended period of time.
Beautiful home for like 5 weeks. It's going to be fantastic.
And now, boom, you guys are out of here. So they got to go find 515 or 415 Beach Lane.
No, they got to find Beach Road. Exactly. Still confusing. But they like drop the kibble on the way out and like it's just all a mess.
And then this is a gag I thought was like the funniest thing. So and the family's just kind of like, get out of here, get your shit, get out of here. They're being very nice about it. But then Jack comes back inside. He's like, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot my noxema. And he runs upstairs. And then he comes back down carrying the little girl. He's Lori, and my daughter. And as they're walking out, she says, I wet my bed, Daddy. He's like, no, you didn't. You wet their bed.
Oh, can you imagine the poor Gardner family like coming home probably from their own, couple of days away or something? And
he just got his 5-week sabbatical from his job.
Good God. So crazy. So they find their actual house, which is not nearly as nice. It's still on the beach, but it's, one story, small, kind of run down. It's a much busier neighborhood.
There's construction next door.
Yeah, next door there's construction going on. And they realize right away as they're eating breakfast that right next to the house and the window into the little breakfast area, the dining room, whatever, is a public access to the beach. It's like how you walk from the parking lot to the beach. So they're just going to have people walking past them like all summer long.
And I like that it's a steady, like huge stream of people constantly. And they're sitting there eating brand checks.
Just like, come on.
Stay out of the pool for 2 weeks if you're doing that.
Also let your kids have something. Like,
seriously,
no Lucky Charms.
We just got downgraded to this house. Like, let's do something.
I cannot imagine what my children would be able to get away with if that happened to us. And I was now like, okay, well, we're here instead. Like I would be guilt-ridden all summer long. They would get everything they asked for. It would be a free-for-all. Because the moment one of them is like, yeah, but Dad, that house was, I know. God damn it. Okay, yes, you can have that squirt gun too.
They're kind of seeing who their new neighbors are. So one of the kids, they have like kind of a teenage daughter, like probably
15,
freshman,
maybe
sophomore high school.
Ballpark it.
And then the son's maybe
10.
a few years younger than that. And then the little guy. So of course, right next door to them is a house that's all lifeguards and are immediately like hitting on their daughter. And Jack looks and sees like all the jock straps hanging on the laundry line there.
Next to a whole gaggle of them. Oh, and then one of them, as they walk by, they're all walking past Jack to like go off to do their lifeguard duties. And you just kind of throwaway line, but you hear one of them say, hey, that guy looked like John Madden. It's like, hey, he kind of does look like John Madden.
All right, this is kind of a big set piece for like a visual gag in the movie. And this is one of the more memorable scenes. And you've been to beaches like this before. You typically stay away when it's that crowded.
Oh, 100%. I hate beaches just in general. Like I love the ocean. I love marinas, boats, sailing, all that stuff. I adore all that. I cannot stand sand. So I tend to stay off beaches altogether. And if a beach is at all crowded, like I am not dealing with it.
It turns me out. Like you get spoiled because you have access to a lot of different places or whatever. But on the East Coast, I remember as a kid, you'd go to the beach in like New Hampshire, which, look at a map and see where the coastline of New Hampshire is.
It's like 2 feet long.
And it just being like every square, or if you're in like, San Diego Pacific Beach on 4th of July, and it's just unmanageable. It's like 10 people deep, and it's so miserable. And they really nailed it there.
Yeah.
Like, getting anywhere is crazy. Finding anyone is crazy.
Right.
No one's paying attention. No one's like being courteous and stuff.
It's not like people are keeping aisles clear,
No.
like to let you
There's
walk.
no-
There's just spread.
Every
right?
man
Yeah.
for himself.
Yeah.
And as Jack's walking there, he's like overloaded with stuff. He's carrying this big cooler, which then like sprouts open the little spout and
the
starts
little drain.
freezing ass ice water all over people that are laying down. And it was like, hey. And the way he plays it off is really funny. He's not that apologetic.
No,
he's like,
really
it's just some water, whatever.
Like he's like, it's just ice water, when it like lands on a woman who screams, and then he like it's over a hibachi cooking hot dogs and puts the hibachi out, and he goes, "You're not supposed to be cooking on the beach anyway.
Yeah.
It's against the law." And he like steps on some guy's sunscreen, splurts it all over him, and it's really just he's like Godzilla, walking through Tokyo and just destroying things as he goes. It's so crazy.
It's like he's crowd surfing like in an unauthorized way. He's just stomping on everybody's place.
Yeah.
And then and he is wearing the Blackhawks number 21 Stan Mikita jersey.
There you
go. So Stan Mikita has now been in Wayne's World in this. It wasn't Cameron's jersey in.
No, that was Gordie Howe of the Red Wings. So yeah, but we'll keep our eyes out. There is another reference. I should include like reference to every movie that we has some hockey reference to it, because that's another one. I think the jersey alone counts.
I think we've got we've got a lot of
quite
hockey in this.
Yeah.
Plus, you're a big hockey
I love hockey
guy. So one thing I did hate about this scene, so kind of at the very end of it, he finds them in their spot, and then his son's like, "Hey, Dad, want to play frisbee?" and does the most like, if you were making a I Think You Should Leave sketch about a guy who's trying to stage a nut shot for America's Funniest Home Videos, this is like how good it is, right? And the kid from 2 feet away throws the frisbee into John Candy's nuts, and then John Candy, with the least effort he's ever done anything, goes, "Oh, say, can you see?" and then falls over. I hate that shit so much. It ruined the scene. I really like the scene. And then that is just like, what a half-assed attempt at a joke. I mean, I hated it.
I get it. I cannot disagree with you on this, like, for sure. To me, I think I took it just a little more as like hacky kind of throwaway, don't care. Like, it didn't bother me as much, I think, as it bothered you, but it absolutely is a garbage joke.
In terms of living up to their potential, everybody involved should be ashamed about that. Like, I expect more from them, right?
Except for Joey Lawrence. That was a decent throw.
He
was obviously instructed to throw at his junk, and he really nailed it. So the kid gets a pass.
He went to frisbee camp for 6 months to train for this movie.
Well, there is more frisbee that comes, because they end up throwing the frisbee back and forth a little bit, at which point it kind of flies underneath two people, or, next to two people making out. The wife rolls over on it, and, all this stuff. There's also this kind of funny
says,
gag.
like, your wife's on my whammo.
Yeah, it's great. But there's a couple of gags here, too, where as people are complaining at him, he says, if there's anything wrong, like he like steps on the guy's camera, right, and drags it through the sand. He goes, it's probably fine, but if there's any problem, send the bill to 415 Beach Lane, which is the nice house that they had to evacuate. When the wife's on my whammo thing, the guy's like, get out of here. He goes, when you're done using it, just send it back to 415 Beach Lane. Beach Road, because he wants to actually get the frisbee. So he's like playing this game in his head of telling people the wrong address.
Yeah.
It's like interesting, but yeah.
Let's see
and
here.
then the next thing they try is volleyball.
That's
and he
right.
also is terrible at that. He flies through the net. Like, also, all of this is set. So the whole thing with helping Bobby with the raft, which is the first thing he does, and then Bobby says, I don't want to. I'm going to play frisbee. He tries playing frisbee. That kind of peters out or whatever, and then he's like, well, let's do volleyball, and that doesn't really work. He ends up the whole point is that he's like, he thinks I'm a loser.
He
like,
needs
I've
something
got
to do
nothing.
with this kid that he can do.
And he sees off in the distance some sailboats, and he goes, oh, that's right, I'm a sailor, I'll teach him to sail. And it's like, which, he later admits that, like, he sailed when he was a kid, like he learned in like summer camp or something.
Yeah.
And it's like, bro, like, you're gonna set yourself up for further disappointment here, claiming that you're like a sailor, quote unquote.
Yeah.
But sure enough.
But that's the idea, and you need to lock in that time with the kid, so you can't blame him too much. But he goes to rent a sailboat, and they say, "Well, all the sailboat rentals are taken. We have the regatta coming in 2 weeks, so
everybody's practicing.
Yeah, everyone's working on it. The only thing, you might be able to rent a boat from Scully, who's the guy who owns the Barnacle.
That's right. So he has to go back to Scully. And sure enough, they got a couple of small, boats to just kind of for rentals or whatever. And Scully offers to do a lesson. He's like, every rental comes with a free lesson, like, whatever. And he's like, oh, no, I got it. I can take it out. So he starts off, and, they're sailing, and he's showing the son how to do stuff. And, they actually have kind of a close call. At one point, he kind of turns real hard turn to get away from the boat. Very last minute, and whatever. And then they see the incisor, which is Captain Al Pellet's boat. And, the Bobby's like, hey, let's take a closer look.
Is he a dentist? Has that been established, or are we just assuming that he named his boat that?
Oh, I never actually thought that he would.
Because they don't really talk about
No.
it, but I was like, why is it called the incisor?
Because it's something that cuts through. So I always thought of it much more like an
it's like
incision
cutting
and
through
just
the
kind
water.
of,
I
yeah, that's
get
what I
you.
assumed.
Yeah.
But I never thought of the dentist angle. But no, they don't actually ever establish any kind of career for Al. He just, I assumed at this point he's either professionally a sailor or he's like retired from something and this is what he does now, right? Living in Citrus Cove. But a good point. It certainly could have been something like that. But so they decide to get closer. And as they're going, there's this sort of like conversation happening between Jack and Bobby about like, hey, like we're getting kind of close. You might want to turn, Dad. And he goes, no, we're the smaller boat. We've got the right of way. And then on Pellet's boat, on Al's boat, it's like, hey, Al, there's that little dinghy out there coming at you. You might. He's like, oh, well, we've got the right of way. Let him move. Now, I don't know enough about maritime rules and stuff to know who actually had the right of way.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling if one of these characters is correct, it's Captain Al is much more likely to know the right.
Yeah,
rule.
I mean, I would assume that the more maneuverable boat would have to get out of the way.
That does seem like it would make sense. Yeah.
But yeah, I know there's always these kind of rules, and it seems like whatever happens, they're going to believe what Captain Al says.
That.
So
there's that too.
So
but they actually do.
But
crash.
he's also a dick, and he sees that there's like a child. You
Yeah.
know, it's like I know that there's a risk here, but I don't really care.
Right.
Like.
Let him deal with it, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to deal with it. So sure enough, the boat kind of pokes a hole in the incisor, which in the crash, then Jack hurts his knee, and Bobby says something. Is it your bad one? He goes, yes. So obviously, it's a knee he's had problems with before, whatever. And so then we cut straight to, we get like a smash cut to back at the house, and he's got an air cast on, like a big one, like the whole foot, ankle, knee, I mean, everything, all the way up his leg. And so now he's kind of, he's going to be out of commission for a few days.
Yeah.
While the
Interesting
kids have fun.
choice.
Yeah.
Like, because for a movie, you could put any type of cast on him.
I think the key was
There
just
were
that
a couple gags for it.
there's a thing, right? There's a point where he talks about it deflating on him or like busting a spare tire, some joke about it popping when he doesn't want it to. So there's that. But I think it's all this like, you couldn't do a cast because that would require too much time.
Yeah.
Right. And then it's like, I don't know what medical technology existed at the time. Like I feel like just a splint or something on the knee maybe wouldn't have given the idea of like how much it's keeping him from doing stuff.
Right.
Because you can want him to both be dejected, but also to be there to
But
be
he
a physical
still has to
reason.
kinda-
Well, there's got to be a physical reason why he's not joining them.
Yes.
Because if
Yeah,
it's just that I'm sad now, it's like, well, now you're kind of a dick.
Yeah, we
Like,
can't root for you as hard
exactly.
anymore.
But if you're like taken out of commission,
Yeah.
trying to impress your son, it's like, yeah, that was stupid, but we can understand it. So I think that's the thing with the aircast. But yeah, it's not like, name another movie where a character's in an aircast for a while. Like, I just
literally
not.
the only one I can think of is in Starship Troopers when the guy gets his arm broken by the guy.
Yeah.
But it's like that's in the year 22 something.
It's a lot more fancy for sure.
Yeah.
It almost looks like that one looks like a fish tank on his arm. Like,
Right. So that's why I was like, oh, that's an odd thing to see.
Interesting.
So the family, now that Jack is stuck at home and the family's out trying to have their fun, and I think it's a rainy day, and mom takes the kids to the movies. And it's interesting seeing the poster because sometimes they put fake ones in, but these are all real like contemporary movies there. I noticed Footloose, Top Secret, Uncommon Valor. There was a couple others.
Yeah.
So they're in line at the movies, and I think she realizes that she doesn't have money with her.
She forgot her wallet.
She's trying to pay.
Yep.
And she's got, her daughter who's a classic headphone teen.
Yeah.
And then behind them is another guy played by John Larroquette, whose son is definitely a headphone teen as well. And he offers to pay for them, and the daughter and son kind of connect a little bit.
It's Don as the dad, John Larroquette, and his son is Greg. And I can't remember Carrie Green's name, but the oldest daughter, she and Greg start chatting, and even like he says something, well, what are you listening to? Like they're on radio stations, which is like something I realized we kind of lost in the whole concept of like everything's like streaming now, or like, even just when we all went to like, we're all listening to CDs more than the radio. It's like you can't share that experience as much with somebody because he tunes to her station. And funny enough, it's the song Footloose by Kenny Loggins they're then both listening to and jamming to as they walk right past the Footloose movie poster.
Oh, funny.
Which I thought was funny as well.
They, I remember like being in traffic and you're with friends and you see someone in their car jamming out and you're like, let's see if we can find what station they're on.
Exactly.
Yeah,
we don't have that anymore.
So back home, Jack, it's raining out and the dog is barking at him, and he gets the dog to come inside, but then the dog left its bone outside. So part of the running gag of this dog is it's not doing any dog type things, right?
Very lazy dog.
So he's like, hey, you go out and get the bone for me. So Jack's like, what? You get, and then of course he's right out there getting it. But he ends up locked outside the
Archie
house,
shuts the door
Fred
on him.
Flintstone style. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's golf on TV, and the golf clears up for Archie.
That's right.
It was all fuzzy
so he gets
for him.
reception from outdoors, so he's like watching it through the window.
Oh my God, poor Archie. I mean, poor Jack. Archie's kind of a dick. But yeah, and so let's see. Then they're going to do another day with Don and Greg. The rest of the family, they're going on Don's boat. He's apparently got a cabin cruiser, so he's a cool guy. And Jack's like, okay, well, you guys, I still can't go. Like, his leg still looks pretty bad and everything. So he decides to hang out. But it's like 100. They say on the radio, we hear
105 to 110.
Which
they
is
say
insane in Florida. Like, because the humidity's got to be 90 plus.
That's crazy.
Like, it's really. They drive home. If you have any familiarity, if it makes sense at all to you, it's like, yeah, this is like. Not only unseasonable, but like dangerously hot. Like this many people should not be out at the beach.
Yeah, exactly. Like get the fire department to clear the beach completely.
It's real
Or
bad.
just keep a steady spray of the hose like up above them so that they're sprinkled down.
The water would evaporate before it hits them.
So Jack's ends up meeting one of the neighbors.
Yes.
I think somebody comes to the door to meet him, and it's this this lady in a bikini and stuff.
It's
and
like
she's
middle-aged, but very small bikini.
but someone that he would be excited to have show up at his door.
For sure. Her name is Vicky.
Yep. and she's offering some fresh lemonade over at her house. Right?
Exactly. Yeah, because he has some lemonade, but then when she walks up, he basically like his jaw drops and he drops the lemonade. And she's like, oh God, and so I just made a fresh batch. He's like, oh, okay. So he comes over to like hang out in their house. He leaves his front door open, which is an important sort of thing that happens. And so then Vicky and Jack are sitting on the couch in Vicky's house, and she, they're talking about what he does. He's an air traffic controller, and she goes, well, you must have really great vision and, attention to detail and all that. I mean, you must, right? And he goes, oh yeah, it helps. Like, sure. And she goes, what do you think of these? And she pulls up her bikini top, and he's like, those are there they are. That's and he's like stuttering over, and she's just like, well, no, like, do they look real? And he goes, you could have fooled me. Like, no, I just had them enlarged. Do they look good? And he's kind of like, oh yeah. And they're talking about like, she's like, they cost $2,000. It was this or a power tool for Ed. And he goes, oh, good choice. And he's like so funny because he's like trying to play it cool, but also is like so uncomfortable by this whole situation. And then he hears upstairs like a groaning man getting up from a nap maybe. And he goes, would that be Ed? And she goes, yeah. And he goes, if you'll excuse me, I'm a dead man.
I feel like this was always an assumption, is that every woman who had a boob job would offer it up to someone to show them or to feel it, right?
Well, this character does it so often. It's crazy. It's like really ridiculous.
For sure. And then Ed, so, this could clearly be a scene where Ed storms downstairs and chases him out and he has to hobble away or whatever. And the way they do it is different, where Ed, he says, you're boring the whole world with your new knockers.
Yeah, and he's like, I gave up a chainsaw for that or something, like a power saw for that. But he's met the neighbors now. Ed and Vicky seem like nice people, if not for except for Vicky.
Much better than the we're having lunch people.
Yes, that is actually a good point. These people are definitely better. So Jack is still kind of figuring out how to fill his day. He goes back to the Barnacle, to the bar, and sits down, and Scully asks him, what can we get you? And he goes, drunk.
So before he goes back to the bar, we kind of keep seeing these little cuts. He had left the door open in the house, like you said, and a lady approached the door with her kid, like, my kid needs to use your bathroom, and can't see that anyone's there. So she's just like, we'll just go do it.
Go real quick.
And then while she's there, somebody walks up and they're like, hey, do you mind if I whatever? And then there's this like 50 people. It's like John Hughes party style, right?
Suddenly.
And he's going through the house, and he just kind of looks around for a while, and then he just starts smashing stuff.
He's like slamming the kitchen counter with his crutch, just screaming at people to leave. And they're all, going, and he heads back to the back room, to the bedroom, the primary bedroom. And there's this huge, fat, sandy, beer drinking, cigarette smoking guy sitting on the bed watching the Smurfs with Archie sitting next to him, with Archie. And Jack is like, you see the one where Papa Smurf beat the shit out of a guy with a crutch? Do you see that one?
And that guy, he must have been gone 15 minutes. That guy left like 90 cigarette butts on
and all the sand and like, it's so gross.
Okay, so back to Jack getting drunk with Scully.
So then Jack and Scully and Cortez and the other guys kind of hanging out. There's all this sort of ragtag band of people that hang out at the Barnacle or work there, and they're just hanging out getting drunk basically, and Jack and Scully do a couple of things. They have an argument about who would win in a fight between James Cagney and Sylvester Stallone. It's sort of a generational disagreement between dudes. They play some darts. one of which goes into Scully's, like, we're guessing part of the arm of his that isn't real anymore, like the part that's the hook. Did we mention that, actually, by the way? Scully has a hook for a hand.
No.
It is an important distinction.
I think maybe, like, the way we described him, though, people would have pictured a hook anyway.
No
missing
peg
or
leg.
artificial limbs.
Oh, absolutely. That's going on the list. But he does not have a peg leg. That's an important part.
That's right.
Isn't it? He has full feet. So, but yeah.
And the Cagney versus Stallone argument is very funny.
Yeah.
And so Jack wants to have Scully teach him how to sail.
A
This
real
is like what it
lesson.
comes down to, where he's like, dude, I have nothing to like offer my kid. Like he's pretty down on himself. He's been injured. That would be a terrible situation. Have you ever like been injured or like real sick on a vacation?
I have, actually, dealing with norovirus at Disneyland. That was a hell of a lot of fun. Yeah.
Dude.
So it was not great.
Yeah, it's the worst. Like you're already bummed if your vacation doesn't go perfectly because you get so few of them.
Yeah.
But then if you have to miss it and you're feeling bad.
My daughter at the time was like 3, and she did not get super sick. Like she, or maybe 2.5, I don't know, something like that. I just remember, like, this is so too much information, but I got sick. I ended up throwing up in, like, we had like a villa with like a full kitchen, but the bathrooms were all being used by other sick people. I ended up throwing up into the kitchen sink. Thankfully, like a garbage disposal and stuff, so it's like I could get it clean. But my daughter is like 3 and watching me and going, "Daddy," and I'm like, "I'm okay, bruh. I'm okay. Daddy's okay, bruh." I mean, it was just like and this is in Disneyland.
My God,
like, what a
dude.
what a wild fucking time. Anyway, so yeah, I can definitely commiserate with Jack here.
Yeah,
for sure. So they go out to do the sailing lesson, and Scully's showing him like how to do stuff. And I love there's a point where Jack asks him, "Oh, you must know some good ocean songs." Sort of. He goes, "Hi, I do," and he starts singing the theme song to the Love Boat.
Yeah,
and the both of them sing the Love. I don't know why, but it always tickled me.
That was like all like from the 70s through 2000. You could get away with that as humor. I remember one time we were on a one of those long, like all-day fishing charter things, and one of the guys just kept singing the Gilligan's Island theme song, but like not the whole song. He just kept saying, like, there'd be a nice, pleasant silence. We're just enjoying the sea, and he'd just be like, "A 3-hour tour," and you have to like acknowledge it at first, but after a while, you're like, "Can we keel haul this motherfucker?" Like, I don't want this guy on the boat.
Can we jibe without saying jibe ho? Because then maybe we'll knock him off.
Seriously, let's have wind do its thing here.
Yeah. So let's see. So then there is a scene. Actually, I made that joke, but like there's a scene where he's showing him how to like jibe the. I don't know exactly how it works, but you're moving the sail from one side to the other as you're turning either from against the wind to into it or vice versa. Like you have to like move the sail, right? And Scully's telling him, like, you say, prepare to jibe ho, and you move the thing. And he goes, "Okay, jibe ho," and he just like spins it, and it smacks Scully in the head, knocks him off the boat, the whole thing. And he's like, they're back at the bar, and he's putting ice in his head, and he goes like, "I guess I'm not much of a sailor." And Scully's like, "No, you're not." And he's like, basically like, "But you're going to be," like threatening, like, "You'll be a better sailor than I ever was." Like he's just like absolutely like pissed at this point. He's like, "I'm gonna teach you how to fucking sail."
Yeah. I do like Scully not turning against him. That's another very PG aspect of this movie. Everyone's like generally nice to each other except for Pellet.
We get one character we're clearly supposed to hate, and everybody else is basically good. Even Dawn, who it's like there could have been a subplot where he tried hitting on Sandy or
I
like
was
whatever.
waiting for that.
Nothing like that. He's just, nope, we're just gonna hang out, like, kind of thing. And it's like, okay. I mean, again, it would have been a different movie, right? Like you said, it would have been less sort of family oriented that way, but I could see them doing it.
So now we're at, I don't know does it explain how this all happened? We're at a funeral home, and apparently the owner of the place that Jack and family are renting now has passed away.
They do mention early that he's in intensive care.
Oh, okay.
Like there's somebody that can't send the check to somebody or something like that. He makes some comment. Or no, it's when they first arrive that morning with the breakfast and the construction sounds. He says something about the shower, something's not working right. There's something that's broken in the house. And he said, "I called the landlord, but they tell me he's in intensive care, so they don't know when he'll be able to like get to it," or something like that. So I'm going to call the plumber. It was something, whatever. So they did set up that he's at least has some health issue or something.
Gotcha.
But yeah, he basically dies. Jack gets a call from an executor or an assistant or whatever that person and says, "Come to this address." And he shows up, and it's a funeral home, and he thought he was going to like somebody's office or whatever. Luckily, he has a sport coat in the car, which is not something I ever have, but he has one. So he throws it on over his shorts and like Hawaiian shirt. And he goes inside, and it's a full on viewing. I mean, it's a funeral, it's a wake, like the whole deal.
Yeah.
But Al is there signing documents to buy the house the Chesters have rented that had been owned by the departed. and is basically like tears up his check and tells him, I want you and your family out of there Saturday, like immediately, or I will come and personally throw you out. I told you I'd get you a renter, like you don't belong here. He really had this whole speech when they first had this encounter at the restaurant about how renters
you
coming
think
and
you own
ruin
this
it.
place.
Yeah, I've been here for 30 years, like the way he says that.
When Al Pellet, one of the best gags in this movie is when he's going to actually sign the document. He flips down the open coffin so that he can use the hard surface of the top of it.
Oh God,
it's
incredibly
perfect
well
character
done there. for him. Yeah.
Kind of a Brad Wesley move. I mean, we've seen a lot of this is just buying out, spending an insane amount. This is actually more of a Shooter McGavin type move.
Oh,
I think Al
interesting. I like
Pellet
that.
we'll do like a bad guy spectrum at some point for the newsletter or something, or a bonus thing, because I think it would be important to place these guys like in terms of evil and realism and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think you gotta have like two axes, right? Yeah, the kind of like
the chaotic good, the neutral, that kind of thing.
X-axis of like kind of annoying to evil, where it's like, are they just kind of irritating you, or are they evil? And then the other way is like realistic to cartoonish.
Okay,
and you plot them and go like, because Al Pellet would be pretty cartoonish and pretty evil.
Yeah,
right, like up there. I was also thinking Ben Gazzara could have potentially played this role. I think he actually would have been quite good in this as well.
Absolutely. Yep.
But yeah, so Jack breaks into the family. We got to go. I'm so sorry. There's nothing I can do. The kids are fucking distraught. I don't want to leave. I'm not going to leave, like all this stuff. And he's just like, what the hell do I do? So we get a couple pensive moments of him, like, looking at the ocean and thinking about stuff. And I think he goes to Al first to make the bet, right? Is that he goes or does he talk to Scully first about the boat?
I think he's talking to Scully first,
right.
because he's kind of commiserating with Scully about how evil Pelly is.
They keep calling him a squid
stick.
That's so good. Squid's dick. So they talk about how the boat could sail, like basically the Barnacle was a fast ship at one time, and with a proper sail, like sure, that's right. So he goes back to the restaurant, the same lobster restaurant they waited at, and Al is there just sitting at the bar, and basically Jack makes him a bet and says, I got a check here for $2,000 the last 2 weeks of our vacation. If I'm going to race in that regatta against you, if I beat you, I keep this, or no, if you win, you take this check and we leave. So you get paid and we're out of here. If I win, I keep this check and we stay 2 more weeks rent free. So it's sort of like 4 weeks or something. It's like this whole kind of thing. So it's just like, that's the bet basically. And Pellet smartly is like, no problem. I've won this thing 7 years in a row. Yeah. Who the fuck are you? Yes, I'll take that. And then there's this thing where like Pellet's holding popcorn in his hand, eating it, and Jack grabs a bunch of it and goes to like shove a bunch in his mouth and starts choking on it. And then Al also chokes on his and is like getting his backside. And the sounds these two men make, I've never heard before or since. This is like the only place where this particular, like I can't even do it. It's so weird sounding when they're both choking on this popcorn.
It's like the Crazy Guys Killer episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm.
I don't think I've seen that.
Oh man, he has something caught in his throat that I won't say on a PG movie episode.
Right, I do remember that. And we fucking swear on this thing. We can talk about whatever we want.
Cubes.
That's right. I do remember that. That's right. Oh my
god. So he's gonna sail the Barnacle, and I feel like at this point the movie has an opportunity for a great montage that doesn't really fully, I don't know, there's more they could have done, but it's a big boat and they end up fixing this thing up from being like a crusty old floating restaurant to like a functional boat.
And if you really look at what they do, all they do is scrape barnacles off the hull and paint it. It's really just painting. That's the vast.
It's all painting.
But the kids in the family, they all show up to help.
And
this is when I mentioned, I like previewed this in last week's episode, but this is, I think, one of the few really high quality Jimmy Buffett songs. I actually really like the song Turning Around that plays over this montage. It's a goofy montage song, but it's like compared to his other weirdly country goofy stuff, this is like a good kind of, bubblegum 80s pop rock song, like I guess is kind of where it is. But anyway, it's the song Turning Around. You can't actually find it anywhere. I've looked. Trust me, I've scoured the world for it.
I think we're going to be talking about some unfindable songs more in the future. But it's so weird that like such a big artist, like his stuff is not just all weird ownership to that stuff.
I think it was never released on one of his albums. So it was only released in the soundtrack. And then this is not a movie that whatever company owns the rights to this soundtrack, like didn't put it in their deal with Spotify or Apple or whoever to like include it. It's for whatever reason. Because probably
Spotify's like, we don't want that stuff.
So
so they got the boat, they got it painted, they got the barnacle scraped, they got it sanded and all this stuff, but they have no sail. And this has been an issue that Scully has this dude who's this like Scottish like boat
Angus.
expert, whatever guy, and he sends him off in search of a sail. So like he's still looking, but they don't really have a sail. So the boat race is approaching.
Yeah, and they
got nothing.
And they talk about how the mast of the Barnacle is particularly tall. He makes a big deal about it being 50 feet high, which it seems like is maybe larger than like the average boats or something. I really don't know that much about like racing sailboats, like how big a mast would normally be.
Yeah.
But I also get the sense that bigger, taller mast, bigger sail, potentially faster, right? Because you'd think it could grab more wind, right? Yeah, that's what you figure. So, so they do this thing and they christen the boat again, rechristen it, whatever, and like cheers to the crew. And this is when he tells the kids they can race with him. He's like, "Well, the crew of the Barnacle raise their glasses," and the kids don't. And he goes, "Something wrong with your arms? Raise your glasses." Like, "Oh, we get to go with you," which is like such a cool dad moment. And really makes sense. Like it works. Like that they would bring them along because it's a big boat. It's not like they're going to be. It's not like one of those racing boats.
It's not like weight is a concern. So go ahead and bring everyone on because weight is not an issue and will never be an issue.
Good point. Very good point. I will say though, it's not like modern like America's Cup stuff where the boats heel 20 degrees or whatever. It's like would be
nice
dangerous.
Upright sailing. I bet that's probably one of the most fun things you can ever do. But I would just be like, I'm gonna fall off.
I'm
like
gonna die.
My knee falling off is so much worse than how much fun I could have here.
Exactly. But they still don't have a sail. And they even say something like, "Where's Angus?" He's like, "Last I heard, Savannah." So he's now back up into Georgia looking for, this enormous sail. But of course, Angus arrives at the last moment, the day of the regatta with the sail. And I don't know, again, much about like stringing a sail on a mast, but apparently it's not a complicated thing. You hook it to a piece of rope and you pull, I guess, right? Because they get it hooked up and they are on their way towards the regatta. And they start the race. They're able to make it on time and they start the race with everybody else. They're kind of trailing for the most part. And at one point, Cortez comes up from down below and is eating one of the fish fingers, one of the Scully's catches of the day.
Yeah.
And Scully says, "Where'd you get that?" And he goes, "From the freezer." He goes, "Didn't I tell you to remove, like remouvoir all, thing?" He goes, "Oh, I thought you said don't remove the goes." "Thank God for my terrible Spanish," or whatever. And it's like, so then they start throwing everything off the boat.
Yeah.
Not just the fish, like packages, but the freezers and
but
whatever.
the freezer,
all this equipment, which obviously was weighing them down.
Because there's $1,000 at stake here. So get all this shit off the boat.
It does seem like Scully is ruining the chances of his restaurant existing after this moment.
I'm going to throw away my ability to make money, but at least this guy I just met will be able to stay an extra couple weeks.
I've known Jack Chester for 3 weeks. This is clearly my closest friend. There's also a funny thing I never noticed watching this in the past, but I noticed this time, which is Lori, the little one, 3 or 4 years old, the real little daughter, hangs out with Yorku, this like old Asian man, in pretty much under in the cabin. They're like, she's braiding his hair, he's braiding the doll's hair. It's very cute, or brushing, whatever it is. Very cute. And we see her ask her mommy, "Is it okay if I hang out down here with Yorku?" And she's like, "Yeah." I never really thought about it before, but I think about this, I'm like, oh my God, could you imagine if that girl, like canonically within the story, was just on deck? Like nobody, like all we would be thinking about the whole time is, "Oh my God, where's Lori? Oh my God, where's Lori? Oh my God, where's Lori?" None of them are wearing life vests.
No.
Right? There's no like protective equipment in that sense. If she were up on deck somewhere, like it would have been absolutely just nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
Watching this as a dad now, it's like, where the hell's the 3-year-old? Like you can't just leave her. But okay, she's basically got a nanny down below and they're just hanging out. So cool. But it's funny. But the other kids are helping. The other 2 older kids, they're pulling ropes, they're doing different stuff and all this stuff. And they start catching up. Once the frozen fish and the freezers all get tossed off the boat, they start to catch up, but it's not quite enough. And Angus says something about, if I'd only had 2 more yards of sail, that might have done it. And Jack, we don't really see what happens at first, but suddenly the Barnacle is catching up to and passing the incisor as they get near the end. And as we're passing Pellet, he's like, "What is going on? Like, where are they getting this wind from? What is that?" And he actually starts blowing into his own sail, which is funny. He goes, It's just very funny.
That's a good like meltdown.
Like you don't know what to do, kind of thing. And then we look, and as Jack waves at him as he goes by, he's not wearing pants. So he strung his pants up into the mast or whatever. And I have always wondered and never really looked into whether this would actually have any effect whatsoever. The pants themselves have holes at the bottom of them, don't them? Did he tie off the ankles? Like, how does this even work?
I don't know. And you're not going to accelerate like that with a little tiny bit more of sail. But they had to end it on a wacky note.
Exactly. And we got to win. This is definitely a story. He has to win this race.
Exactly.
Or the story sucks.
So the Barnacle wins.
Yeah.
And it pretty much ends right there.
It kind of does. We get a little bit of celebration.
There's not them back at the beach house or whatever. It's all just kind of
Yep, we just get some people celebrating. Everybody apparently, because it shows Don and Greg, it shows Vicky and Ed, it shows all these people.
Everyone
really
in the
excited.
town is thrilled to watch this guy lose.
I
Like, I
all
bet
hate
he's
Al.
one of those guys that
Yeah.
people are just like, fucking somebody beat him.
There's a couple of kind of funny moments that happen here. Vicky has also bugged one of the judges to look at her boobs, and Ed comes by to like chastise her about it again. And then at one point, Jack actually is able to use some of his air traffic controller knowledge to help. They're trying to figure out how to get more wind or get into a better position.
That's right. He notices some kind of weather pattern.
A small
or something.
airplane, like a little prop jet or prop plane, does this weird dive, and it's kind of like clearly dealing with some kind of a wind abnormality.
Yeah.
And he looks at it and he goes, "Oh, here we go." And he starts turning, and Scully's like, "What are you doing?" He goes, "I just noticed a low altitude funnel gunnel." That could or might not be the right thing. I don't know. But like Scully repeats it as if he's never heard it before. So I think it's funny. He goes, "Can't you see we're in a funnel gunnel?" Like, it's just very funny.
Yeah. So he saved the day and got
Yeah.
an extra couple weeks at a place that kind of had been established sucks.
Yes. But
he's made some friends, and it's a different place to him now.
it's the principle of the thing too, right?
Exactly.
Like he was not about to let some
He can't get
asshole-
bullied by this guy in front of his kids. Like, the
No.
kids are aware of the
Yeah.
challenge and stuff, and you got to come through. So, yeah, man, that is Summer Rental.
That is.
You wanna kick us off with your review, Steve?
I do. So this is a movie that I kind of knew going into this. I was going to be generous with my score, and I knew I was. I just wasn't sure how generous I was going to be, and I think the appropriate score for me to give this that incorporates my nostalgia bump, but really does kind of take a look at like watching this movie, you know, for the first time in probably like 5 to 10 years. It's been a little while since I've seen it. And it's something that I still found it very enjoyable. It's such a clean PG, which you don't see a ton of. Candy and Crenna and Torn are all really wonderful, playing very, very broad but interesting characters. And I really still very much enjoyed this front to back. So with my admitted bump for nostalgia, I'm going to a 3.5 out of 5 on Summer Rental. That's where I land. And I think, I think that's where I'm at. What about you?
Okay, yeah. So I mean, the three main characters, I thought, I like all the actors. Those performances were pretty good. I don't know if it's because it's a PG or if they didn't like. I read something that John Candy had some comment about this after it came out that like the studio needed to fill a spot and we had to kind of rush to make this movie. So it feels like it's not a fully realized version of what it could be. There was missed opportunities for jokes, I felt, especially like the pants thing at the end with the sail was fine, but you were already set for like a couple of big sail reveals. Like during that boat race, there was twice where they put an extra sail up, and it wasn't like a pirate flag or anything like interesting. It was just kind of too down the middle. Like there's a chunk of this movie that I like, kind of like from when they get kicked out of the first house to when the boat sailing training starts. I think is pretty good. That race at the end is like 12 or 15 minutes or something, and I think it's kind of boring and kind of isn't that great. But this is an enjoyable movie. It's not offensive. It's good to see Candy doing his thing. We don't have a lot of John Candy. So I'm giving this like a mild not recommend, but I'm not going to unfriend you if you want to see it. So this is a 2.5 out of 5 for me. I think, we see why we love John Candy, but also I just wish that they'd put a little more into it if they went through the script a couple more times and really like made it more robust. And like the John Larroquette character seemed like, did they just edit this in a way that ignored that whole subplot? Did they have a hour and 48-minute movie planned and they had to chop it down under an hour and a half or something? Because it seems really weird that he's in it, period. Like they didn't need to give him the backstory he had.
That's true.
But that kind of stuff happens all the time, and he's like a bigger actor than I would think for such a small.
Was he in '85 though? I can't. When did Night Court?
I'm trying to think of when that came up, but he was. Yeah. Actually, I'll do some Larroquette research.
I don't know.
But yeah, 2.5 out of 5 for me. I appreciated watching this, and it was great to chat with you about it and see like what you remembered from it as a kid and stuff. So fun one.
6 out of 10 then from the two dads. I think it's just about right. It's kind of right in line with the IMDb score, give or take. And I think it's smart that when you look at this, because I probably would have been about a 2.5 without my little nostalgia bump for it.
Yeah.
And so, this movie being legit 5 out of 10 bumped point by my nostalgia, it seems about right.
Yeah.
It really is just down the middle of like, There's nothing wrong with this movie,
No.
but really nothing about it is like noteworthy per se.
Right.
Rip Torn's accent is probably the reason to watch this movie. It really is a lot of fun when Rip Torn talks with that accent.
If you're ever though, like if you're staying at like a Airbnb or something and they don't have like cable or streaming, you know, sometimes you stay somewhere and they just have like a small collection of videos.
Yeah.
This would be a great one to be there.
Absolutely.
You know, so you're somewhere with your kids. It's perfect. If you have 25 to choose from,
Yeah.
this is a good one to pick.
And this is a movie kids from any young
They
age
get
should
a
watch.
kick out of it,
There
yeah.
are parts of it they would enjoy, you know, pretty young and nothing offensive about it. So, all right, that was Summer Rental, 6 out of 10. Nick, where are we going next?
So next week we're going somewhere a little bit different. We're gonna leave the United States. We're gonna go to Hong Kong, and we're gonna follow the 100% true story of real life real guy Frank Dukes.
Oh, okay.
A very famous military man and martial artist played by Jean-Claude Van Damme, and we are going to participate in the Kumite as we watch Bloodsport.
Nice.
You ever seen Bloodsport?
I have not.
Oh,
Yeah, this is one that missed me along the years. I was never a big Jean-Claude Van Damme guy, just in general. I think I saw Hard Target and then Street Fighter. Like that was sort of my Jean-Claude Van Damme
Street Fighter's
history.
a rough one for a lot of reasons.
Although Raul Julia was wonderful.
I know,
movie, but
that movie killed Raul Julia,
it did,
though?
It did. Yeah, I think he had cancer before that, but that's okay. Anyway, yeah, Bloodsport. Haven't seen it. Very much looking forward to it because it'll fill in a hole that I have in my movie-going experience. So that's what we'll watch next week. That's a wrap. So if you like what you hear, please consider heading over to Apple or Spotify and leaving us a 5-star review. It helps new folks find the show. Be sure to check out our website at twodads1movie.com. That's the number 2 and the number 1. There you can explore the movies we've covered, sign up for our newsletter, The Rewind, and even get sneak previews of upcoming episodes. Once again, this has been Summer Rental, another episode of Two Dads, One Movie. I'm Steve.
And I'm Nick.
Thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you next week.
Thanks, everyone.